And this is exactly why we have the problem that we have today in the housing market. It is because of poor lending standards. If you had a 2% inflation target, for example, and you were using the 1980 CPI, then guess what? You would have never seen rates held as low as we saw them held low for the past 10, 15 years. And how much more affordable would housing then be? You wouldn't have had these giant bubbles that have been blown. And they are bubbles, guys. The thing is, the housing market in particular is an incredibly risky thing that risks blowing up the entire Canadian economy. And it will blow up the entire Canadian economy. It's inevitable. And the reason why it's inevitable, it's so simple, yet people cannot seem to get their head around it, is just the fact that affordability is so stretched right now. Nobody can really afford to buy the homes. It doesn't matter what city you are in Canada. Nobody can really afford to buy the homes. What has made these homes so expensive is actually the people being allowed to leverage their homes. People doing cash out refis, people using home equity lines of credit to go and buy other homes. Now we know those people are sat in distress. A lot of the people that bought Airbnbs in Canada and did that are now in distress, or they're trying to sell. I'm monitoring a bunch of areas across Canada where this is happening, and I'm seeing that, you know, there is a ton of inventory. Nobody's buying these homes. They were all obviously bought in holiday hotspots for Airbnb, and nobody's buying them, and it's just a race to the bottom. And some places, those prices have even gone below 2019 levels. Real estate is obviously local. Here in Calgary right now, prices are at all-time high. In Toronto, they're not at all-time high. Some places in rural Ontario, prices are down 30-40%. The same in BC. So, you know, the problem is a lot of these areas that weren't even inflated got inflated during 2021 and 2022. So all these rural areas, people came in with new money and priced out existing people in those markets, and then those markets are quickly backpedaling now. That kind of reminds me of a theme here in Calgary, where I've spoke to multiple real estate agents who are telling me that over 50% of the clients that they're dealing with right now are from out of province. So that is just ridiculous when you really think about it, because that essentially means that nearly half of sales in Calgary, or more than half of sales, are actually people moving out of province to Calgary, or they're buying investment properties to rent out, both of which are entirely stupid, because rents in Calgary are up more than 50% in the past couple of years. If they correct 20%, those people aren't going to be able to pay their mortgage. The rents that people are getting are fictional right now, and I don't think they'll ever get back to what they were before. But will they correct at some point in the future? Yes, they probably will, and then those people will be left out to dry. And you know, Calgary is an incredibly emotional topic. When I mention it, I see the emotions in the comments. When I see emotions in the comments like that and people defending it, it makes me immediately think bubble, because bubbles are emotional. And when people are getting emotional about different things, it's usually because they're in a bubble, even if it's a smaller bubble than everywhere else. But anyway, I was just using Calgary as an example. This sort of gentrification, or whatever you want to call it, has been happening across the country. And the only reason why Calgary was left out of that for so long was because it had so much inventory. And now all that inventory has been burned up. Looking at the migration data, this migration boom actually started during 2021, before the moving to Alberta campaign, and the Alberta is the greener grass and everything like that was even commencing. So the fact is, this was actually starting before that. That's just kind of helped fuel it even more. And it's been one of the biggest migration booms that we've seen. It's happened in places like Kelowna, and now it's backpedaling there. You got to be extremely cautious. I know a lot of people are very emotional right now, but the thing is, we're paid a decent yield. Like, if you have savings, there's really no excuse to sit there and say, oh, I want to do something with my money, I want to buy a home, like I just can't help myself. Because the thing is, you're getting paid a good yield to wait and see what happens with the economy. And we know know it's going to be bad. We even know it's going to be bad here in Alberta, despite what people say. The economy is deteriorating. Alberta is losing jobs. You know, Calgary is the city with one of the highest unemployments in Canada. Alberta is a province that is up there, one of the highest in Canada. Yet you see record amounts of people moving here. And this just demonstrates to me that people are following their emotions, which is fine. They're allowed to do that. And I don't really blame them for doing it. If they don't follow channels like this, if they're not clued up with economics, if they're not looking at the economic data, then yeah, they're not going to have a clue what's going on. So things are going to get ugly. Things are going to get bad, but we have to remain calm. We have to help out one another. Those are the things that we have to do, and it makes us feel better, makes us happier, it makes us better people. I mean, with our move that we just did in Calgary, we gave away a lot of our stuff, and a lot of our stuff that we sold was sold at rock bottom prices, and we sold it mostly to people moving here from other provinces, believe it or not. I cannot tell you how many people I've met who moved here from other provinces, mostly BC or Ontario, and it's kind of interesting, their perspective. I'm always asking them what they think. I'm always asking them, you know, whether they got a job here, and most of them did. And it's just kind of crazy when you really think about it, because if you actually had an idea what was happening with the economy right now, there's no way that you would make that sort of move. But what I think is even more crazy is that the banks will lend. The banks will lend to somebody, first-time home buyer who's just moved to Calgary, who's been in their job 3 months, you know, they'll lend to them. They will honestly lend to them. If they've got consistent employment, good credit, they're going to lend to them. And even though you and I can see how risky that is, the bank knows how risky that is, they're still going to do it. And it just shows you how the lending standards in Canada have gone down and down and down over time. And this is exactly why we have the problem that we have today in the housing market. It is because of poor lending standards. And I know people will point to different things, but the fact is, when you look at lending standards and when you look at what has happened to affordability, it becomes obvious that the lending standards had to drop in order for that affordability challenge to be met. Because if people cannot afford the homes, how on earth are they buying them? And a lot of the time, it's leveraged equity through cash out refis, home equity lines of credit, or the bank of mom and dad. So anyway, I think this obsession with real estate in Canada is going to end in a miserable, miserable place. It has sucked up so much business investment money that it is just an absolute disaster for the economy. Nobody wants to invest into the economy. People just want to invest into the real estate Ponzi, and it's kind of built up this ugly, ugly economy here in Canada, where it's no wonder that per capita GDP has been in a recession since 2022, and soon the labor market too, and soon the economy as well. GDP is not my favorite number, as you guys know, but GDP is slowing down massively, and if you adjusted it to a real inflation number, we're already in a recession. And it's no wonder that productivity is so low in a country where people can't even buy their own home and are just looking at what they're going to do later in life and wishing that hopefully they can leave Canada. And that is the reality for most people. It is a sad reality. It's sad that the country has slipped into this reality, and it's every single government that's in power or has been power in the past 25 years essentially that has led to this moment where we're at right now. So just remember that. If you enjoyed this, you might like this video here. You might also like this video here. If you're looking for a VPN, go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. If you enjoyed this video, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.